we were speaking about how Tucker Carlson is one of those guys who helped your career, had you on the show, and I mean, you can't escape the news right now with Tucker Carlson. It's just like the biggest thing going on right now. I was just wondering your take on it because I think this guy, no matter what people's opinions are on him, he had an absolutely historic run. He definitely challenged the system at large. He was the first guy in a primetime show who would challenge things going on with the FBI or the CIA. No one was doing that prior to him. What's your feelings on the fact that he's I'm sure he's going to do something that's going to be major, but he'll no longer be on Fox News in prime time, and I think it's going to greatly affect Fox News at large.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how that plays out. And yeah, I don't know. I did text him right after just to say, hey, just heard the news and that sort of thing. But I'm very curious to see what happens. It's if you're not thinking about it, not in that world, I think you're surprised. So I'm not in that world. So I was surprised by it. But then when you take a breath and think about it and look at Fox in general, and if you really put some thought into it, then maybe it's not that surprise of a move, and maybe it's a surprise that it didn't happen earlier, because you are standing up against the status quo. You're standing up against Washington establishment. You're standing up against that ecosystem, for lack of a better term, with all those lobbyists, all that money, all that power, and you are challenging it. And you have the most coveted slot on cable news and the largest audience, and you are standing up and challenging these people who are not used to being challenged. And if they are, it's by someone who can't make as much of an impact as Tucker. So I'm very curious to see where he goes and what he does next. And he's a incredibly intelligent guy, and such a nice person. Also, if you know him personally, he's just a great guy.
Yeah, and I heard it said it was like Bill O'Reilly on Twitter was like, oh, I think he's going to go on to do a Joe Rogan-esque podcast, but like, there's only one Joe Rogan. I don't think anybody's going to be able to do the same thing that he does, and I think Tucker created something very original that was unlike anything else on TV. But I'm just wondering what it is next. And I mean, when you just look at the ratings that he has, once again, people of all backgrounds listen to this show. You may be a fan, you may not. But with the ratings that he got, I mean, he could do whatever he wants at this point. And I think Fox News needed him more than he will ever need Fox News.
Yep, I think that is a very valid assessment. And we'll see. I mean, yeah, I'm excited to see what he does next, whatever it is. I know he's going to be very thoughtful about it and take his time with it. And or I should say, I know. I suspect.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, but he's not going to fall off the map. We know that's not going to happen. He's got something up his sleeve.
Maybe. I mean, we'll see. It's yeah, it's interesting once you have that, and it can be in anything, that financial freedom. And we talked about it with Joe Rogan. You have that financial. It's very freeing.
You have to be less politically correct. You have that "fuck you" money, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. But and that's going to be different for everybody. So it's really about that freedom. Back in the day, freedom used to be, I don't know, X number of acres, and depending on, just like financial freedom today varies depending on your personal situation. But that used to be land. It used to be cattle, whatever it was, whatever that it was for you back then. It's different today in that. That financial freedom essentially has trumped the other ones, because the other ones are under such attack constantly from within, not necessarily from without, by parties, institutions, people who you would think would understand their history and realize why we have this First Amendment and how powerful that makes us as a country. While at the same time, they're doing all these other things that enrich them, help them. And when I think of that, I think of it in terms of politics and lobbyists, and now tech companies, and everything else up there with the defense industry and pharmaceutical industry and all these people and entities and corporations that can pump so much money into a gigantic bureaucracy, who does not benefit from the citizens being free and having a First Amendment, and in particular a Second Amendment, but having they disdain this thing, as these freedoms and do what they, whatever they can to curtail them. So it's a very interesting time to be alive. But going back to what led me down that tangent was the ability of financial freedom today to really just allow you to experience some of those freedoms that are being taken away from people that don't have financial freedom. So
Yeah,
it's a
there's
tough
so many
time, man.
people who
Tough time.
want to say something, whether it's in the public space, in actual person, or if they want to say it on Twitter or Instagram. But a lot of intelligent people in the back of their mind, myself included at times in my life, say, if I put this out there, I could lose my job, I could lose my livelihood. And like that's hanging above anyone's head, especially if they're working for a major corporation. And like those guys don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's why I liked in the pages of these books, weave in all those things. And, like I said, no one at Simon & Schuster has ever even hinted that I need to lay off any of that. So, in a lot of ways, I think Twitter and social media is tough because it becomes that echo chamber. And how many people whose minds are you changing? What kind of a debate are you going to have in one sentence increments back and forth, where someone's already made up their mind to hate you or to hate whatever it is because they saw a tweet from somebody with a lot of followers that essentially programmed them on how to think of something without doing putting the requisite time, energy, and effort into the issue at hand, studying the issue before making a decision about it. So when you're dealing with that kind of a mindset and a person on Twitter, I don't know how much any minds are going to change by jumping into a back and forth, but that's why I put that weave things into the novels.
Yeah, and that's why when I do see your Twitter, you're just out there promoting what you're working on. You're not one of these guys, of which there are many Navy SEALs who get into the weeds on every little political topic. And I see that you don't do that. I'm sure it's calculated. I'm sure it's by design. There's a reason not to do that because, yeah, you have better things and more important things going on. And that's why you're a success. And one last thing, actually, here, when you were saying how Tucker is a really nice guy, that's another interesting thing is, your own experience with Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan being friends of yours. And if you do listen to the mainstream media out there or the corporate press out there, you would think these two guys are monsters.
It's crazy. It just goes to show the power as soon as the establishment, whether it's media, politicians, whatever it might be, stacks up against somebody for something. That's when you should take a breath and really look at it and ask the why. And usually I ask myself, no matter what it is, how does this person, this corporation, this entity want to manipulate me with whatever it is that they're putting out? Because it's social media in particular is a tool, and a tool that can be used to manipulate. And so that's the question I ask. How's this person? What is this person trying to do? What is this corporation trying to do? How are they trying to get me to think? How are they trying to influence my behavior? Back in the day, it would be consumer behavior. We want you to buy something and buy your product rather than the competitors. Different. Now it is about controlling, influencing, manipulating behaviors and thoughts. And even without the AI side of the house, it is a very popular, a very powerful tool when it comes to manipulation. So I always just take a breath and ask myself, how am I trying being manipulated when I see something? And even if it's against somebody that I don't like, for lack of a better term, and see something pile up against that person, I wonder, why? What are they trying to do? How am I being manipulated here? And it's just, I found that to give me a little bit more peace of mind and let me take a breath and really study things more in depth before jump into a conclusion. But really, history, I think, is that foundation that would make us a much more powerful country if we had this common ground as far as respecting those who came before to give us these options and opportunities we have today, understanding what was sacrificed so that we do have these options and opportunities and freedoms today, and then maybe realize that, hey, the decisions we make today aren't for us, they're for the next generation. And maybe I should put a little more thought into this vote or this retweet because it's going to have an impact on the next generation of my kids and grandkids. So it deserves a little more time. So stop tweeting and start reading. I think I said that on top one time. So